You almost certainly know about the massive series-spanning Night of the Hurricane crossover event that brought the worlds of Family Guy, American Dad, and The Cleveland Show crashing together. It was an advertised, unmissable television spectacle. But what if I told you that was just the most obvious piece of a much larger, more intricate puzzle? What about the dozens of hidden cameos, subtle background references, and quiet acknowledgments you've almost certainly missed over hundreds of episodes? For years, dedicated fans have been piecing together a timeline of small but significant clues, all pointing to the proof that Seth MacFarlane's two flagship shows are more than just spiritual siblings created by the same mind. They are intrinsically, physically linked. Now, if you're a fan of these shows and love deep dives like this, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us more than you know, and you won't miss any of our future explorations. So today we're doing more than just scratching the surface. We are taking a deep dive, breaking down every single link, every crossover, and every Easter egg that suggests these two iconic families exist in the same bizarre, chaotic reality. This isn't just a fan theory anymore. We're going to examine the hard evidence scattered across nearly 2 decades of television. This evidence proves that Quahog, Rhode Island and Langley Falls, Virginia are two sides of the same very strange coin. So grab your can of Pawtucket Patriot Ale, make sure your resident alien is safely hidden in the attic, and let's unravel the secret shared universe of Seth MacFarlane. Part 1. The main event. The Night of the Hurricane trilogy. Alright, let's begin with the biggest, most undeniable piece of evidence, the smoking gun of the entire theory, the Night of the Hurricane event from 2011. This was no mere throwaway gag or a fleeting cameo. This was a full-throated 3-part story arc that intentionally and directly crossed over between The Cleveland Show, Family Guy, and American Dad. The concept was simple in its premise, but monumental in its execution. A single, massive hurricane sweeps up the East Coast, and we watch in real time as it impacts all 3 of MacFarlane's animated families. It all kicks off in Stool Bend, Virginia, on The Cleveland Show in the episode The Hurricane. The town is preparing for the storm, and crucially, local news reports are used to establish the storm's trajectory. We see a weather map that clearly shows the hurricane's path moving north, directly towards Quahog, Rhode Island, setting the stage for the next chapter of the saga. From there, the narrative baton is passed seamlessly into the Family Guy episode, Seahorse Seashell Party. The Griffin family is now dealing with the full force of the storm, trapped inside their house with no power and rising tensions. This episode is famous for 2 major character breakdowns that escalate the cabin fever to an insane degree. First, a bored Brian decides to take mushrooms, leading to a terrifyingly surreal and visually disturbing trip where he hallucinates grotesque imagery involving all of his family, including himself. He even cuts off his own ear, saying it will prevent World War II before passing out on the bathroom floor. At the same time, the family's perpetual scapegoat, Meg, finally snaps. She unloads years of pent-up rage and frustration, systematically deconstructing and verbally eviscerating each family member. This is actually the episode where we get the popular meme, "You all think you're so much better than me" from. It's a raw, uncomfortable, and powerful moment that proves just how much their dysfunctional dynamic relies on her being the designated punching bag. But the real magic, the moment the crossover pays off in full, happens in the 3rd part, the American Dad episode aptly titled Hurricane. The storm finally reaches Langley Falls, Virginia. In true form, Stan Smith goes into full, over-the-top survivalist mode. His paranoid and questionable decisions, including a refusal to evacuate, lead to the entire Smith house being uprooted by floodwaters and floating away like a cartoonish version of Noah's Ark. He later throws an anchor from the roof of the house, causing the entire house to flip upside down once the anchor catches on something. This is where the worlds literally collide. As the Smiths navigate their inverted floating home, it crashes directly into the displaced house of Cleveland Brown. And who is standing on his own flooded porch just a few feet away? None other than Peter Griffin. The climactic final scene brings the 3 patriarchs, Peter, Stan, and Cleveland, face to face in a tense, literal gun-wielding standoff. Stan pulling a gun on Cleveland, thinking he's a looter, Cleveland pulling a gun in self-defense, and Peter pulling 2 guns, one for each, even though he knows Cleveland, but let's face it, Peter has never been the brightest. It's the landmark moment, and the first and only time the main characters of all 3 shows are together in the same physical space at the same time, sharing the same disaster. The argument that follows, full of misunderstandings and misplaced aggression, perfectly cements their shared chaotic reality. Part 2. The major cameos and character crossovers. Beyond the hurricane, the shared universe continued to expand with a steady stream of significant cameos and direct character crossovers. One of the earliest and most memorable examples happens in the Family Guy episode Meet the Quagmires. This episode sees Peter travel back in time to 1984 to his youth, where he bails on a date with Lois to pursue a night at the bar with actress Molly Ringwald, accidentally altering the future so that Lois is married to Quagmire and Peter is married to Molly. After he manages to fix the timeline, with the help of Death, after screwing it up 3 more times, he returns to his living room, relieved, and says he's glad everything is completely back to normal. Just as he delivers that line, Roger, the alien from American Dad, casually walks into the Griffins' living room, opens their fridge, and asks, "Who ate all the pecan sandies?" He then walks out as if nothing happened. Not only is this an excellently timed non sequitur, but the line itself is a throwback reference for dedicated fans, calling back to the opening scene of the pilot episode of American Dad. Stan Smith and his authoritarian boss, Deputy Director Avery Bullock, have also made a memorable trip to Quahog. Their biggest appearance was in the epic Lois Kills Stewie 2-parter. The entire story is later revealed, spoiler alert, to be a highly advanced computer simulation run by Stewie to see what would happen if he finally achieved world domination. Within this simulation, as president of the world, Stewie and Brian storm the CIA headquarters in Langley to seize control of the global power grid. They run into Stan and Bullock in the bathroom and exchange a pleasant greeting about what a great day it is to protect freedom. From there, Stewie and Brian break into a control room. We see a quick cameo by Clippy, the helpful paperclip in Microsoft Word, before Stan and Bullock break down the door wielding their guns, but it's too late. Stewie has control. In another classic meta gag, at the beginning of the Family Guy episode Big Fat in Season 11, Peter and the family are going next door to visit their new neighbors. Stan Smith answers the door. Peter's first reaction to seeing Stan's heroic chin is to mistake him for his wheelchair-bound neighbor Joe Swanson, who has a similar Hollywood jawline, exclaiming, "Joe, you can walk!" Upon being invited inside, the families meet each other, including Roger the alien, to which they are sworn to secrecy. Peter instantly blabs when Quagmire calls, resulting in Stan shooting him. This all turns out to be a bad dream within a dream. First, Peter's dream, then Hank Hill's dream, also incorporating a King of the Hill crossover. A triple meta joke for the ages, crossing over 3 different animated universes in under a minute. And the traffic between these shows isn't just one way. Brian Griffin has been spotted multiple times in the world of American Dad. In one blink and you'll miss it moment in Season 6, we see Klaus wearing a hat with Brian on it and carrying a lunchbox that says Family Guy as Stan lectures his son Steve that heroes need to be real people. In another episode, Stan Smith lists off his favorite fictitious dogs, with Brian Griffin being number 1. Brian sips his martini and asks if he knows Stan as he walks off. Stan is left yelling, "Stop pretending I don't exist," after him. Another episode, Steve and Roger are watching what appears to be a TV show on a laptop, where Stewie and Brian are getting off a plane to Miami. They then comment on how unrealistic the show is, and how far more realistic it is to be on a bus with a boy and his alien in a wig with magic shorts. Seth MacFarlane loves to break the fourth wall in his shows, and is not above making fun of himself. Part 3. The blink and you'll miss it references and Easter eggs. Beyond the major character drop-ins, the real fun for hardcore fans lies in the tiny, almost microscopic details you might have missed. These small, deliberate Easter eggs suggest a constant underlying connection between the two worlds, rewarding viewers with a keen eye. A fantastic and undeniable example is found in the American Dad episode, Fight and Flight. In a very quick shot, Roger is seen looking at a Where's Waldo-style puzzle book. If you pause the episode and look closely at the page, you'll see that it's not a generic cartoon landscape. It's a detailed illustrated map of Spooner Street from Family Guy. The Griffin house, the Swanson house, and even Cleveland's old empty house are all perfectly rendered. This incredible detail places a literal map of Quahog directly into the hands of a main character in Langley Falls, creating a tangible link between the two locations. The show's background characters are also a veritable goldmine for these hidden connections. Take the Family Guy episode Killer Queen, where Peter and Chris are sent to a fat camp to lose weight after Chris makes himself sick at a hot dog eating competition. Repeatedly throughout the episode, you can clearly see Barry Robinson, Steve Smith's nerdy, overweight, and sociopathic friend from American Dad. He only speaks 2 words in the whole episode and isn't acknowledged as being known by anyone. It's a silent cameo where Barry has been sent to the very same camp as Chris Griffin. But perhaps the most jam-packed blink and you'll miss it cameo of all happens in the Family Guy episode No Giggity, No Doubt. In a typically absurd setup, Peter is listing off a ridiculously long list of people he wants to invite on a camping trip instead of going himself. As he does, the camera pans across a massive crowd of characters. Hidden within that chaotic crowd is a huge gag where you can almost spot the entire principal and supporting cast of American Dad. Stan, Francine, Steve, Haley, Klaus, Jeff Fisher, Principal Lewis, Avery Bullock, they're all there for a moment. It's a fun crossover that the writers packed into a single fleeting frame. Part 4. The Star Wars Connection and Cutaway Gags. Of course, you can't have a serious discussion about the MacFarlane-verse without talking about the massive cinematic universe of Star Wars. Family Guy's iconic feature-length parodies, Blue Harvest, Something 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 Dark Side, and It's a Trap, serve as another key, albeit unconventional, meeting point for the 2 shows. In Blue Harvest, the ambitious parody of A New Hope, the famous Mos Eisley Cantina scene is populated with a wide array of aliens from across science fiction. If you look closely in a corner booth, you can spot Roger from American Dad having a drink. But he's not alone. We also see the evil monkey who famously lived in Chris Griffin's closet. This places 2 non-human characters from both shows in the same room. You even see Bender from Futurama. Roger shows up again in It's a Trap, the parody of Return of the Jedi. This time, he's given a full role, cast as Moff Jerjerrod, the jittery Imperial officer in charge of the second Death Star. His appearance is even punctuated by a meta joke as Stewie, as Darth Vader, looks at him and exclaims, "Wow, it's you! Are we already out of our own characters?" This explicitly acknowledges the crossover within the parody itself. In a brilliant end-credit sequence in the episode The Unbrave One, Francine is scammed by a fake online pregnancy test from a site run by a Dr. Vagers. She's asked to send explicit images of herself, such as her wearing a cheerleading outfit, to determine if she's pregnant. The joke seems self-contained until the credits roll. The final credits reveal a shot of the person behind the scam hunched over a computer with a sleazy grin in a dark room requesting more close-up photos. It's none other than Glenn Quagmire from Family Guy. It's a clever and subtle way to confirm that Quagmire's depraved schemes are actively preying on the unsuspecting residents of Langley Falls, using a Family Guy-style character reveal to do it. These jokes consistently reinforce the idea that the writers see these 2 worlds as one big interconnected playground. Part 5. The Is It Canon debate. So after all of this evidence, the hurricane, the cameos, the Easter eggs, the meta jokes, what's the final verdict? Is any of this actually canon to the official storylines of both shows? The real answer is, it's complicated, and frankly, that's precisely what makes this entire shared universe so great. On one hand, you can argue that many of the most significant crossovers are deliberately framed as non-canonical, giving the writers an easy out. The epic fight between Stewie and Stan in Lois Kills Stewie took place entirely within a computer simulation, so technically it never happened. The entire sequence of the Smith family moving onto Spooner Street was revealed to be a bizarre dream being had by Hank Hill. The writers often use these framing devices as a get-out-of-jail-free card, allowing them to have all the fun of a crossover without having to worry about the messy implications for continuity. However, the Night of the Hurricane event feels entirely different. It was a deliberate, heavily promoted, multi-episode arc that treated the 3 towns as real, geographically linked places being hit by the very same storm in a linear timeline. The final standoff between Peter, Stan, and Cleveland wasn't presented as a dream, a simulation, or a cutaway joke. It was presented as a real, tangible event. Furthermore, the smaller, more subtle cameos, like Barry appearing at Fat Camp or Roger owning a map of Spooner Street, are also presented as simple, unadorned facts within their respective worlds. They aren't framed as jokes. They just are. The best way to look at this entire connection is through the lens of a soft canon, a universe governed not by strict rules, but by the rule of funny. The two universes are, without a doubt, linked. Quahog, Rhode Island, and Langley Falls, Virginia exist in the same reality. But the writers will always prioritize a good joke or a clever reference over maintaining strict, unwavering continuity. They feel free to have a non-canon dream sequence in one episode and a subtle, seemingly real background cameo in the next. After all, neither Family Guy nor American Dad is a show known for its rigid, serialized storytelling. In a world where a baby can build a functioning time machine and a talking dog can drive a Prius, the idea that a paranoid CIA agent from Virginia might occasionally run into a bumbling buffoon from Rhode Island isn't that much of a stretch. The shared universe isn't a strict rulebook. It's a creative sandbox, and the mountain of evidence shows the writers have been building incredible castles in it for years. From the epic world-colliding storm in Night of the Hurricane to Roger secretly chilling in the Mos Eisley Cantina, the threads connecting Family Guy and American Dad are woven deeply into the fabric of both shows. While the writers love to use dream sequences and meta gags as a narrative safety net, the sheer volume and consistency of the connections paint a very clear picture. The relationship between these two iconic series is more than a simple occasional nod. It's a long-running, brilliantly executed gag that has created a fluid, fascinating, and hilarious shared universe. Seth MacFarlane and his creative teams have built a world where the lines are intentionally blurry, where continuity is secondary to comedy, and where somehow it all makes a strange kind of sense. So what do you think? After hearing all of the evidence, do you believe it's an undeniable canonical link, or are these just throwaway jokes that we're reading too much into? What's your favorite crossover moment we talked about today? Or are there any other secret connections that we might have missed? Let us know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite shows. Thanks for watching.